Story 1. I found a job. I had about 2 months savings before facing homelessness. Every day that ticked on the calendar after I was fired made me anxious. But today I was hired for a position that pays more than my last job and requires fewer hours. I start in 6 days. Over the next 6 days, I will relax and catch up on the movies and television I could not enjoy while job hunting and worrying. It was hard to get into media when all I could think about was counting down the days until eviction proceedings began. Story 2. I cried this morning because I missed my dog. She passed away 3 years ago at age 14. I still hurt and tear up whenever I think of her. Gosh, I miss her. Story 3. My fiancée broke up with me, and unfortunately we have to keep living together for now. It is hard to hear her laugh and be happy with her friends while I feel like I am rotting away. Story 4. One of my students died a few days ago. She was only 10 years old. I cannot stop thinking about it. Story 5. I cried 5 minutes ago because I am so lonely. My mother keeps telling me I am useless. My friends left me because they think I am boring. There you go. Story 6. I imagined Mike Tyson biting off Jake Paul's ears in tonight's fight, which brought some tears of joy. Story 7. It is officially rifle season here in Michigan. This was almost a religious holiday in our house. My dad would get the camper ready to head up north to Grayling for 2 weeks, and my mom would make huge roasters full of homemade chili for all the boys going hunting. My dad would get mad about some silly thing, my mom would start to cry, the snowstorm would begin, and the dog could not contain her excitement because my dad kept cracking the guns. The house was full of life and chaos. Finally, it was 1 in the morning and snow was falling hard. My mom was out on the porch waving goodbye to my dad and the family, of course crying and nervous about the weather. Finally, the dead silence that followed was welcome, and my mom and I turned in for the night. That is how November 15th happened in my house. Today, all my family is deceased, and I am alone. That made me cry. Story 8. I saw a cat get run over outside my workplace. He looked just like my cat. I hope he is okay. Story 9. I lost my Yorkie almost a month ago. Today my wife put up the Christmas tree, and the screensavers on my phone and watch show our Yorkie in front of that same tree. It's my first holiday without him, and I'm devastated. Story 10. My girlfriend of 8 years is moving out tomorrow. We love each other, but it's not enough. After being together so long, calling it quits is hard, and realizing we're not right for each other hurts. I wish her the best and hope she finds happiness. It still fucking sucks. Story 11. I had to put one of my cats down 3.5 weeks ago. He was only 3 years old. It was a sudden medical emergency with no treatment that happened in the middle of the night. In the space of an hour, I found him suffering, got him to a 24-hour vet, and returned home with an empty cat carrier in my garage, unable to bring it back into the house without him. He was one of 2 sibling cats I adopted to fill the void left by my previous cat, who I also lost unexpectedly to kidney failure. I do not handle loss well, and I have not had time to process this recent loss because my job takes up too much of my life. It seems small compared to other stories I see, but it affects me every other day and causes me to lose my composure for about 30 minutes in my office. Story 12. I have been estranged from my immediate family since 2018. Recent hurricanes caused them to reach out because they are moving away and there is a subtle sense that they are looking for money. I sent them photos of the letter I mailed to them in 2022 that detailed much of the abuse and said I do not have anything else to say until those issues are addressed. My older sister replied on their behalf and belittled what I went through. I responded in the same group message that I will not have this discussion unless it is directly with my parents. There was no response from my parents. The last part of my hope died. And it hurts. They were awful and now they are pathetic. Story 13. Today was the first time my daughter ran out of the house to go to school without saying goodbye or I love you, as she usually does. She is always mad at me lately. Raising a teenager is not easy. Story 14. I have depression and I always feel excluded, even when I'm not. Today my geography teacher didn't call on me even though I was the only one with my hand up, and I raised it multiple times. At one point he asked 4 people to read. 4 students raised their hands, including me. He then said, Okay, person A can read first, person B second, person D third, and person A will have to read again, while glancing at me. I left and cried in the bathroom until the period ended. Thanks, Mr. Stubbs. Story 15. I'm a little nervous today because I have a doctor's appointment. I'll try to follow people's advice and not overthink things. Story 16. A female sparrow at my feeder has a deformed and overgrown beak. I fear she will not survive. Story 17. My parents have a super close-knit group of friends. They have known me since I was born. I am good friends with all the kids. They are practically family. One of my dad's friends passed away last night due to complications from heart surgery. This is really awful. Story 18. I was talking to my husband about how hurt I am that I have to relive his infidelity. I ran into his affair partner at my children's school. Turns out one of her children attends the same school. It feels like reliving the entire betrayal from the beginning. I had finally been healing for a year. Story 19. I watched a video of a stem cell transplant patient celebrating his 2-year anniversary. The donor sat at the table beside him. Story 20. I watched a video of a teacher demonstrating an active shooter drill at her school. There were no students, but a police officer fired blanks so the teachers could hear what gunshots sound like at various distances from their classrooms. Story 21. I had to call and pause my house payments. Work stopped communicating with me. I am broke and cannot pay for anything. Admitting it aloud and asking for help is humbling and humiliating. On the bright side, my payments are paused for 6 months. Story 22. I am sick with coronavirus disease in addition to my chronic illness. Feels hopeless. I have been sick so much this year. What is the point of trying to do or plan anything when I have some sort of bug or flare-up every couple of weeks? Story 23. I found an injured bird in the middle of the road and took it to the local veterinarian. Sadly, it had to be put down. I was becoming too upset with people walking past and leaving it there, but at least it passed peacefully in the end. Story 24. The thought that I am going to lose more weight is upsetting. 2 years ago, I got sick and lost a lot of weight. I hated my body, and it took me a long time to feel okay about how I looked. I had an appointment yesterday, and I will have to start a medication that will cause further weight loss. This morning I cried because I have already lost so much, and the thought of losing more makes me sad. I am starting to feel like I will no longer be pretty and that I will look terrible and sickly, and I do not know how to handle that. I felt like I looked decent, but that is about to go away. I am crying again. Story 25. My relationship with my mother-in-law makes me very sad. We had another argument today. I am sad that I lost my temper in front of my toddler. Story 26. I realize that no matter how hard I work, I will never be able to afford a house. I looked at my toddler today, and the thought of not being able to provide for my family makes me feel helpless. I don't know what to do. Story 27. I cried in a dream where I was hanging out with my father, who died when I was 11. Partway through, I realized I was dreaming and stopped crying. Then I tried to enjoy the dream while I could. Story 28. Our cat has been diagnosed with cancer. They performed surgery and found a mass, which they removed and biopsied to confirm. I had really hoped it wasn't. This cat is technically my best friend's, but he has been living with us while my friend looked for his own place. This Saturday I have to tell him. It will feel like destroying his whole world. I keep randomly crying, thinking about our cat having cancer, how devastated my friend will be, and how we will live without him. He's only 5. He should live at least 10 to 15 years, growing old and happy with us and enjoying his life. Instead, it seems the world has given him only 5 years. Fuck you, world. I'm not okay. Story 29. Unrequited love. I was becoming very close to a woman at work who, as it turned out, was my dream girl in every way. I took a chance and she said no. Thank you, life, for letting me meet the woman of my dreams, for letting me fall harder in love than I ever have, and then for throwing my heart in a blender. That was months ago, and I still see her around the office several times a week. We are in a strange place now and are barely talking. I have been trying to normalize things with her, but it has been difficult. My feelings are still too strong. Maybe one day. Story 30. My sports medicine teacher gave me a massive slice of pizza and asked if it was good. My English teacher complimented my Rick and Morty Christmas shirt and asked how my day was. I've been feeling depressed lately, so those two acts of kindness meant a lot. Story 31. My husband is having a depressive episode. It is getting deeper. He has shut down and has been in his room sleeping for 3 days. He also has severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder but will not seek help. I am at my wit's end. Story 32. A mixture of having cancer and worrying about the future of this country, which could ruin my health insurance and my job. Story 33. I found out that my mom's partner's cancer was completely removed during her operation, and she will not need radiotherapy. I teared up at work. Luckily, it is Friday and there was no one around to see me. Story 34. Today, I talked with a friend about death, the people we have lost, and how we would want to be buried. We talked about Père Lachaise, a cemetery in Paris I visited because of its beautifully designed graves. I showed her pictures of it and of some Holocaust memorials. I told her that I had not photographed every memorial because it felt wrong to photograph some of the more brutal ones. One was a statue of white figures holding hands, a memorial for the children who were deported and killed under the Nazi regime. I did not know why, but at that moment it made me tear up. Story 35. There is an overwhelming feeling of dread that we are a few months away from the start of a dictatorship. Story 36. I had jury duty. On the first day, they showed an orientation video. I am tearing up because they are talking about how juries are important to democracy and fairness for all people. Story 37. I was 38 weeks pregnant and getting my cervix checked. My goodness, that was awful. Story 38. I just left my mom's birthday party because I have a massive migraine. I really wanted to stay, but the loud music felt like it was crushing my brain. I hate feeling this much pain for no reason. My entire body feels like giving up, so the only thing I can do is lie down because even crying hurts. The strangest part is the auras. I do not think my migraine needs to warn me before it hits. Story 39. My shifts next week total 40 hours at my morning job, so I will be able to pay rent for December. Happy tears. Story 40. Yesterday I talked with my dad about how his divorce from my mom affected me when I was a child. I said the breakup itself did not really bother me, but problems that came later did. I could feel my voice about to break when I mentioned that he never spent the night at home with my mom, even though I did not know they were getting a divorce at the time. Many years later, I discovered it had affected me. I did not really cry, but it was close. Story 41. I have not cried today, but watching the news makes me feel miserable. Story 42. I read too many posts on the Senior Kitties subreddit about cats crossing the Rainbow Bridge when I have a senior kitty myself. Story 43. I am turning 28 and finding it hard. I am single, lonely, and feel very behind in life compared to my peers. Story 44. I don't cry much. People can't get to me anymore. I won't be anyone's victim. I cried when my dad died, and I'm glad I did because it showed me I still can. Story 45. I randomly realized no one has my back. I've been crying here and there all day. Story 46. Waking up knowing he won the election and that over half of the United States of America is on his side. I have 2 very young granddaughters. They will grow up in a very different United States of America. But the feeling has just come back. Story 47. My best friend had her 18-year-old cat euthanized this morning. I live 80 kilometers away but could not sleep, worrying about her. I knew when the vet would arrive and when the hearse would come. I kept a small vigil. She went to watch the tide go out and sent me a link to the playlist she is listening to, so we are listening together. Her heart is broken. He had a great life and is in no more pain. I am doing my best to be there for her. He was beautiful. Rest in peace, Ginger Legend Claus. Story 48. My country elected a rapist to the highest office for the second time. Our future government will include a pedophile, a Nazi, and someone whose brain was eaten by a worm. My sexual assault trauma, combined with the reality that I am a naturalized minority, is compounded by having been laid off from my job of 6 years. Story 49. I have come to the realization that I am going to have to put one of my cats down. Story 50. I lost it all yesterday. I'm just processing my emotions today. Story 51. I have a few stitches on my arm. My 3-year-old came to me with a bandage and put it on my stitches. She loves me and wants to take care of me the way I care for her. She is very kind. I love her more than anything. Story 52. I found a picture of my ex and me from when we were so happy. It is crazy how life changes. Story 53. I have been thinking about my lost marriage once again after more than 20 years. In one sense, my drinking destroyed it. In another sense, the marriage was doomed anyway. Once our first child was born, I realized I could not stay married. Our parenting styles were worlds apart. Story 54. I miss my parents. I lost my mother in 2020 and my father in 2023. My brothers hurt me so badly after my father's passing that I feel like I lost my whole family. It still hurts a lot. Story 55. I have an ex-girlfriend who is still in most of the same friend circles as I am. We agreed to remain friends after we broke up, and we regularly hang out with the same groups. When the event ended and people were leaving, she hugged everyone except me. Story 56. Today is the 6th anniversary of my brother's suicide. He would be 30 years old if he were still alive. This day hurts the same every year. I miss you, David. Story 57. I feel overwhelmed, stressed by life and work, and lonely. Story 58. My sisters are blaming me for the problems in their lives and have refused to speak to me because they say I am childish, snarky, and would bite their head off. I am not okay. I have not been for a long time. Story 59. I cried several times today. I was set off by videos on the internet, a silly gift from my son, and a commercial. Today is my birthday, the second one without my dad. Last year was worse, but this one snuck up on me. I am crying again. Story 60. I have been without a partner for 9 years, and the loneliness is hard. I used to love the holidays, but now they are just days I sit at home and try not to think. Story 61. I thought it was Thursday until noon, so I cried when I realized it was actually Friday. Story 62. Today is my dad's birthday, but he passed away in early June. This is my first November 15th without him and the first time I cannot say happy birthday to him. I miss him a lot. This is also my first football season without him. I feel lonely. I hope he and my mom have found each other and the other family members they missed. This Christmas it will be just me and my older brother, and we will miss them all. Story 63. My mother is cruel and abusive. Because of this, I have gathered several mother figures over the years. One of them, whom I have known since I was 5 years old, I am a 36-year-old woman, died on Tuesday. I have been crying for days. Story 64. My grandmother passed earlier this year. She has been heavy on my mind today. I asked God for a sign that she was with me, and I found a random picture of her holding me as a baby. It made me burst into tears. I miss her so much. Story 65. I accompanied my sister when her dog was euthanized because of cancer. It was brutal. Story 66. I was there when one of my closest friends tried on wedding dresses. She has waited so long and is so deserving of this. Story 67. When people mock my comments on Reddit by alternating capitalization, it makes me feel like shit. Story 68. I cried at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and in front of my husband because I am 68 days sober. It is not all roses. It is hard for a million reasons. Story 69. Listening to Forever Young by Rod Stewart in the car, thinking of my son who is now in his 30s. I may have it played at my funeral to encourage my children with my last words of wisdom. Story 70. This month has been horrible. I lost 2 of my pets. One to a health condition and the other to a tumor he could no longer fight. I came home to another pet having a freak accident and it probably won't survive. I tried to buy a snack to cheer myself up but had insufficient funds. I am in debt after having to euthanize my previous pet in an emergency to spare him suffering. The only good thing recently is a positive pregnancy test, but with my history of miscarriages and how stressed I have been, I am not hopeful. I have already cried so much that it just hurts. After posting this, I was hit with more bad luck. I was given a chocolate as a gift and forgot about it. Because of the accident, it melted and exploded in my pocket. I was also just contacted by my abuser. It really feels like the world is against me. Story 71. I still miss my dog who crossed the Rainbow Bridge last year. It never gets easier. Story 72. Laika was a Soviet space dog who became the first animal to orbit Earth. She was launched aboard Sputnik 2 on November 3, 1957. Laika was a stray mongrel chosen for her small size and calm temperament. The mission provided data on living organisms in space, but Laika died a few hours after launch from overheating and stress. Mission officials initially reported she had survived for several days. Her flight contributed to the development of human spaceflight and remains a symbol of both scientific progress and ethical debate. Story 73. Nothing so far, laughing my ass off. Who knows? Plenty of time left in the day. Story 74. Technically, the last time I cried, which was more like tearing up than crying, was yesterday. I was thinking about the Little Brother song from Phineas and Ferb and laughing out loud. I have been rewatching the show recently, so the songs are fresh in my mind and I cannot stop listening to them. Story 75. I saw a picture of my best girl whom I lost 3 weeks ago. Story 76. I realized that maybe I should have gone through with it during quarantine. It would have been better for everyone, including me. If you are thinking about harming yourself or are in immediate danger, please contact your local emergency services now. If you are in the United States, call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Please reach out to someone you trust or a mental health professional for support. You do not have to face this alone. Story 77. I am home with coronavirus disease 2019. My boyfriend is immunocompromised, so he could not come. One of my sisters from church called out of the blue. When she found out I was under the weather, she rushed over with Diet Coke, Dayquil, and a sweet get-well card. I am not sure which thoughtful gift made me cry. Story 78. I had the best dream of my life about finally not being lonely, only to wake up and realize it was not real. Story 79. I cannot afford to fix my car, and I cannot get a loan for a new one. I am tired and overwhelmed. Story 80. I was reading a post in another subreddit, but I can't remember which one. An obscure, underrated band was mentioned. Their name is Cloud Cult. I found a song of theirs, When You Reach the End, and it really moved me. I can't wait to look up more of their music. By the way, does anyone know how to view the history of subreddits I visited? I'm kind of new here. I want to go back and reply to the poster who recommended Cloud Cult and thank them. Story 81. Looking back on how I wasted 10 years of my life doing nothing. Story 82. I just watched the new episode of Grey's Anatomy and had a little cry at my desk. Story 83. I injured my back yesterday lifting my sick 19-month-old toddler. I am 26 weeks pregnant and unwell. My husband has had to stay home because I cannot walk, lie down, or sit without him. Even just lying down makes me cry. Story 84. I am trying to move up in the world, but a drug test is telling me otherwise. Smoking marijuana made me a better person, and I am scared that this might hurt my chances of getting a good job. I am also struggling in school. I have a family, and it is hard to get by now. I feel terrible, and the guilt is overwhelming. Story 85. Etsby is not accepting my submission because my computer did not recognize the Word document containing my project, which made it impossible to upload since the system does not allow that type of submission. I am not good at explaining this. I just know it, laughing out loud. It was so upsetting that it made me cry. I gave up and will ask the technical people in my family to handle the entire submission for me, but I no longer trust the system. Story 86. Today would have been my former best friend's birthday. He died by suicide in August. It has been on my mind a lot. Story 87. Someone stole my tent. That's where I live. Those people are jerks. Story 88. It wasn't today, but I was listening to Teenage Dirtbag on my way to work. I hadn't heard it in years, and it reminded me of so much throughout my life. Story 89. Seeing the haka performed in the New Zealand Parliament as a protest moved me. I always cry during Haka videos, but seeing it in that setting was on another level. Story 90. I will never be okay. I will always be rejected and alone, and I cannot fix it. Story 91. My company is working on forest conservation, but we are running out of money and there have been many scams involving carbon credits, so it is hard to convince people that carbon credits can be legitimate. Today, I had to lay someone off for the first time. A very good person who had been with us for 1.5 years. I do not know what she and her husband will do. It is a difficult time. Story 92. I almost cried thinking about how grateful I am to have the people in my life. Story 93. Life and the memory of someone who was very close to me. Story 94. I am being micromanaged at work. My supervisor belittles me and watches me like a hawk. She also corrects my words when I speak to my clients. Story 95. Kaleidoscope by Chappell Roan came through the Spotify randomizer. It's always worth it, but man. Story 96. My cousin unfriended me and is now asking me to lend him money. Story 97. I had done nothing so far, which is incredible given how bad things have been lately. Then my partner in a long-distance relationship asked if I was okay. And now I am crying so hard that my body is convulsing in pain. Story 98. That stupid post about September 11th on Reddit prompted me to click the YouTube video of the Regis and Kelly show from that day. I watched about 1 minute and thought, why am I doing this to myself? Story 99. Struggling to think clearly ruins everything. It is ironic to have the things I need but still feel useless due to my lack of understanding. I cannot focus, I get low grades, and tasks go unfinished because my mind constantly criticizes me. Story 100. The police I spoke to are refusing to help find the man I have reported for animal cruelty for 6 years. It is as if they want him to go free despite all the evidence I shared with different police officers and a lieutenant. Story 101. I realize that I might be jumping between jobs because life is difficult, and trying to attain a higher position feels almost impossible. Story 102. I have been sick with laryngitis all week and have been reading The Women by Kristen Hanna. My dad went to Vietnam but never talks about it, and I did not know anything about the nurses there. Some parts of this book hit hard, and it is very good. Story 103. A close childhood friend attempted to take his life. Thankfully, he is alive and getting the help he needs. Story 104. Yesterday, I watched a video on YouTube of a woman bidding her dog farewell. It was gut-wrenching and made me bawl my eyes out. As I cried, memories flooded back and overwhelmed me. I couldn't stop. My eyes were puffy and red, my nose felt like Rudolph's, and my voice was choking and very hoarse. Story 105. I am losing my bed at the shelter where I am staying because of a week-long crack binge. I deserve this. Story 106. Watching Danandan and reaching episode 7. Who put onions in my hanger? 18 Golden Balls banana anime. Story 107. I lost the ability to cry or feel intense emotions because of post-traumatic stress disorder. Onions may make me tear up, but nothing else does. Story 108. I found out the job offer I received includes the pay increase I have been hoping for, and my hard work in my career has finally paid off. Story 109. Nothing. I'm not a crier. I like to stuff my feelings way down until they slowly turn to rage. Healthy, I know. Story 110. My mother called me after 2 months of no contact. My boyfriend and I had a fight. Story 111. I got very drunk and had a severe hangover. I am tired of this happening. It has been 15 years. Story 112. My dental insurance will not cover the work I need. My life alert bill is $780, and my dog's emergency surgery this week cost $700. Story 113. In a memory from 12 years ago, I wrote about saying goodbye to my grandfather, who died that day, and about the bittersweet feeling that I would be officially adopting my son the next day. My father commented that he was proud of me. He died earlier this year. Story 114. Game of Thrones, Season 4, Episode 1. Arya gets needle back. Story 115. Remember the Titans. Can't you see the resemblance? We're brothers. Story 116. This picture makes me cry every time I see it. I feel so bad for the man. Story 117. I received news that my colon screening was positive. I had already been diagnosed with breast cancer. Story 118. The last time I cried was a week ago today. I had leftover spaghetti for lunch and realized, for the second time, that I will never have my grandmother's spaghetti again. She died in April of this year. She was my closest grandparent and the source of many fond childhood memories. I know it was for the best, and it would be selfish to keep her around forever if I could, but I miss her very much. I came back to work feeling down and texted my mom to see if she wanted to talk. She told me never to apologize for loving someone. I went to the machine room and had a good cry. I have not been doing well the past couple of years. A year ago this week, I started my current job at the library, which I love, but aside from losing my grandmother, I also had my heart broken by someone I cared deeply about. I told her how I felt. She did not take it well and said things that still bother me. She moved suddenly to the other side of the state around the time my grandmother died and did not say a word to me. My mom's advice that I should not apologize for loving someone really resonated with me. I have been living with depression for years and I feel like a complete failure who has not done anything amazing with my life at 29. It seems like everyone around me has it all figured out. A home, a family, and a good-paying job. I love my job, but the pay is not much, and I do not have my own place. I live in a condo owned by my family. I do not know if I will ever be good enough for the people I love. The only two real relationships I have had were failures. The longest lasted 1 month. Every woman I have asked out has said no or rejected me bluntly. I do not see myself finding anyone anytime soon. The dating pool where I live feels hopeless. All of this was caused by a week-old plate of spaghetti. Story 119. My doctor listened and did not shame me for anything. He thanked me for being brave enough to share what I am experiencing so he can help. Story 120. My cousin posted about how her 3 young children were fighting over who would sit in the front and who would be first to the car before they left for school this morning. It made me feel nostalgic. My 3 children are all adults now, and I miss those days. The days go by so fast, and before you realize it, 10 years have passed and everything has changed. Story 121. My closest friend had a very sudden, entirely unexpected major medical emergency 6 weeks ago in which he almost died. He coded twice the first night in the intensive care unit. I will not go into more details. He is home now and has a long road to recovery. I have had one day yesterday in 6 weeks when I have not cried. The abject terror remains. Story 122. I watched a video, and it reminded me of my deceased family members. Sounds silly, huh? It's been more than a year. Story 123. Viewing my father's coffin for the first time since his death, I felt a strange mix of calm and upset all at once. Story 124. My supervisor lied about my unit getting a new person. I thought it was tabled, but it is not, and I have to train the new hire. The colleague I work with has been reassigned, and we are losing a lead. Work is busy, so losing people is difficult. I hope the next person can work independently. Story 125. The movie One Life tells the story of a man who saved 669 children in Czechoslovakia before World War II and went largely unacknowledged until his story was told. A television program reunited him with survivors and families, and it is estimated that 6,000 people are alive today because of his efforts, along with many volunteers who otherwise perished. Story 126. I recently ended a friendship with someone, but before that I had bought gifts for her and her daughter. A wooden puzzle with her daughter's name and a customized wooden piece with her and her fiancé's initials, a heart in the middle, and their wedding date. When I went to drop off these items at her grandfather and father's house since they live closer to me, her grandfather told me that I am like family to them, that he loves me, and that I am always welcome at their house. I have not had a grandfather for most of my life. The only grandfather I had when I was born died when I was young. Hearing him say that brought me to tears. Story 127. I have 3 children. 2 of them are newborns. I am tired but very happy. Story 128. My science test went badly. I knew what I was doing until I got to it. I cried for half of the test. My teacher is sick, and he is letting me go over it after the weekend. Story 129. I dropped my bagel this morning and just broke down in tears, laughing out loud. Story 130. I felt very stupid because of the way my brain works, and I cried all morning. Story 131. I saw a picture of an old dog who recently passed away and thought about how much I love my little guy and how quickly he is getting older. I am just glad I get to be there for him as he ages. Story 132. The newest episode of Dandadan made me cry like that. I do not think an anime has done that in ages. Story 133. I read a post about September 11th, 2001 this morning. A nurse said the hospital called everyone in and prepared everything for a mass casualty event. But no patients arrived. That finally drove home for me the sheer number of people murdered that day. Story 134. We picked up our rescue dog today from the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. All the volunteers were sobbing to see him go, and that moved us. Story 135. My brother and I had a fight in which he said hurtful things he knows are very personal to me. I do not know if our relationship can recover. Story 136. I won a giveaway twice in a row during a stream after not winning anything for years. Story 137. My pericarditis might have returned. They drew a lot of blood at the doctor's office, performed an X-ray, and by the end they did not find the cause of my pain. I had a brief emotional moment on the drive home. Story 138. It was 1 month ago that my dad passed away. I feel so depressed and lost. I spent most of the day crying and could barely get out of bed. We were very close. My dad's last few days were in hospice care. While he lay there, heavily medicated and in a coma, all I could do was hold his hand and watch him slowly die. I feel like something is broken inside me, and I will never be the same. Story 139. Today should have been my grandfather's 95th birthday. We buried him instead. He was my best friend. I will never stop being sad about it. Story 140. A song from my wedding played on the radio. We celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary last month. Story 141. I saw a cat trying to catch a laser pointer, but it missed. Story 142. I cried today because I am living with a man who manipulated me in a relationship and I still have to live with him. The other part does not matter. Story 143. I am undergoing evaluation for polycystic ovary syndrome, and everything I am learning, including health conditions I did not even know I had, is getting to me. Story 144. I hardly cry over anything, but some parts at the end of Stephen King's The Stand made me tear up a bit today. Story 145. On the drive to my daughter's school, I looked over at her and had to soak up the moment. I kissed her cheek and told her I was so proud of her. She has special needs, and she has taken 3 really big steps toward independence this past week. She is 21 years old. She took a shower without making it a huge event. I am not saying she used soap, but it is more than she has ever done. She walked into school alone and went straight to her classroom. I stood in amazement. She took her medication by herself. We make it and place it on the table, and we usually have to beg her 5 or 6 times. She took it, put it down, and surprised us by saying that she had done it. Today I looked at her, kissed her, and started crying. Happy, proud tears. My Juju. Story 146. You know what? The latest 7th episode of the anime Dandadan was surprising. Although it seems like a silly and chaotic action romantic comedy, that backstory hit me and seemingly everyone who watched it like a truck. It was sad in the original manga format, but the music and the gorgeous cinematic animation elevated it. Story 147. Missing my dog of 19 years who passed away in December. My other dog walked to where her bed used to be and stands staring at the floor. I miss her so much. Story 148. I saw a video of a dog tied up in a basement without food. I cried. Story 149. My mother has been lying to my adult children to make me look bad. Story 150. I had a student in my middle school class who was frequently in trouble and in the office. I am a substitute and have worked at this school a lot this year. She was having a rough day, so I gave her a small assignment to take her mind off school. Write one page on any one of a series of ridiculous topics. She chose a few, and two of them made me cry. First, if you could time travel, her response was I would go back to before my grandfather died so I could say goodbye. Second, if you could have a superpower, which one and why, her response was I would fly because when you look up at the sky at night, at least the stars have a purpose. I have never met a child so in need of love and support. I am a nearly 40-year-old burly bearded man working in a rural Michigan school, and that one girl wrecked me. I had to go cry in the hall for a minute. That was my day. Story 151. My mother and my dog died earlier this year, about a month apart, and I am missing them as the holidays approach. I am all alone now and have no one to celebrate with. I have extended family, but none live in town, so visiting is not an option. I feel very sorry for myself. Story 152. I was searching for toys from my childhood because I was going to make a nostalgia post. I grew up poor. Mom was on a disability pension. Scrolling through the images made me realize, in a new way, how much Mom sacrificed to make my childhood as happy as possible. It unlocked many memories. I wish I could talk to her to reminisce and thank her, but she has been gone almost 2 years. I miss her so much. Story 153. I was watching an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine when Jake said, "God, I love this job." After spending the entire night trying to solve a case, he tried to go to sleep and realized it was already time to go to the office. Story 154. I cried because my dad is in the hospital and doing poorly. I drove 600 miles to be here last week. My mother and sister, who live less than 5 miles away, barely visit. My mother finds other things to worry about. My sister cannot get out of bed before 2 p.m. I have been in his hospital room for the past week, from 9:30 a.m. until after 7 p.m. for the shift change. I have spoken with the doctors, the pathologists, and the palliative care team. I have been relaying all this to my mother and sister. My sister asked for a second opinion and questioned everything the doctor said, and I finally had enough. I told both of them if they want answers they need to be here in the morning. I have been telling them all week. My mother left because she does not like driving in the dark. My sister left upset because I called them both out. I have had it and am considering going home tomorrow. I love my dad, but they are not worth my sanity. Story 155. I saw a picture of my beautiful mother in her favorite place. It will be 5 years on the 24th since she passed. She was only 68. My God, I miss her. To hell with cancer. Thinking of you, Mommy. Story 156. I cried a few hours ago because I feel so lonely in a romantic way and like I am never going to find my person. I am at a point in life where all my friends are either engaged, married, or in long-term relationships, and I have only ever had 3 relationships that never lasted more than a year. I am afraid I will never find the right person and will go through life alone. Story 157. Society of the Snow soundtrack composed by Michael Giacchino, specifically Susie Passes. Story 158. It may seem silly to cry about this, but I missed out on My Chemical Romance concert tickets. Their music saved my life when I was younger and I was going through tough times. It has always been a dream to see them live. I woke up early and joined the queue as soon as I could. And when it was my turn, the cheapest tickets for the nearest show had already been scalped and were reselling for more than $500. I am just hoping this is not their last tour. Story 159. My boyfriend accidentally hurt my feelings and made me cry. I know it wasn't intentional and he was just being blunt because of his neurodiversity, so I can't really call him out, but it still hurt. After we visited his grandmother in the hospital ward, she said goodbye and told me I was a sweetheart and her favorite of his girlfriends. I felt pleased and told him later, and he laughed and said I wasn't his grandmother's favorite, that she loved his previous partner, Francesca, more though she liked me. That really stung. Was it necessary to tell me? Could you not have let me be delighted? Story 160. Looking at myself in the mirror and knowing I'm still alive. Story 161. I had to write appreciation letters to my parents in class. I couldn't stop tearing up. Story 162. I did not cry today, but I did watch the newest Dandadan episode last night. Story 163. I don't have many friends at school. but there are a few whose company I really enjoy. Most of my school friends don't hang out with me anymore. Today, when the teacher didn't come to class, they moved seats and left me alone. I never know if I'm being paranoid or if they really don't like me and are trying to get away from me. Either way, it makes me feel kind of dumb. I didn't cry, but I felt sad. Story 164. I imagine my entire family dying in a horrific accident. That was fun. Laughing out loud. Story 165. My child is having a rough day. I am pregnant. He is constipated and miserable. We have been yelled at all day while trying to help him, and I am exhausted. Now I have to take him and myself for blood work. This is the day from hell. Story 166. I have been planning a wedding alone. Whenever I try to meet my partner's requests, he responds negatively. He said money was his issue and that he did not want to spend it. I understand money can be a problem, so I agreed to a courthouse wedding even though I wanted to elope in the forest. I was criticized for wanting wedding photos and for asking him to wear a suit. At this point, I do not know why he wanted to marry me. I feel undervalued and alone. Story 167. Apparently Chewy has a feature where you can memorialize your pet's profile if they pass away. I sobbed reading the description. Keep a memorial of your pet. We will not recommend products for Theo anymore. Now I'm crying again. Story 168. I visited the 911 memorial. I do not know why I cried. I have no relatives among those who died. But it is tragic regardless of what you believe. Story 169. Thinking of my guy who passed away and how he would have loved Deadpool and Wolverine. Story 170. Willie Nelson's cover of Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues. Story 171. My son woke me at 4 in the morning after he had been screaming for 4 hours straight, and neither of us had slept. I am so tired. Story 172. I am going home to the apartment I still share with my former partner after we broke up a few days ago. Story 173. I went to a nutritionist today. I don't have a good relationship with food. She taught me the importance of eating nutritious food and not starving myself. I feel a lot better, but still worried. It was good to get, affirmations. Story 174. I found out that my childhood dog was hit by a car. She was a 7-year-old Chihuahua Dachshund mix in perfect health. My mom had her living with extended family despite the fact that I offered to take her many times. I would have picked her up myself even if she had been 8 hours away. I am completely devastated. She was my soulmate. I have not seen her in person since Christmas 2021. Story 175. Learning that the child who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was murdered by her alcoholic, abusive father, along with her mother, in 1988. Story 176. My reactive dog is reacting again to something he doesn't have to, putting me to shame in front of the whole neighborhood for no reason. Please don't eat the neighbors. Story 177. Losing my daughter. I am devastated. I will never be the same again. I also lost my best girlfriend within 2 months. I miss them both so much. My heart is shattered. I will never get over this. I just want to be done and go see them again. Story 178. Watching Ben Herbstreit's tribute to the dog who recently passed. Story 179. Physical therapy. I had knee replacement surgery 2 weeks ago, and when they push to straighten my knee, I want to kick them in the face. I know it's for the best, but it fucking hurts. Story 180. I dreamed about my late brother last night. This morning, when I went grocery shopping, the song I had played at his funeral was playing in the store. Story 181. I realized how lucky I am as a Canadian that my healthcare covered my eye surgery. The cost still came out of my pocket, which could have ruined me. Recovery might be slow, but it was not going to cripple me the way the blindness did. Story 182. I was watching a Korean drama and the main character's mother died. That's it. Story 183. I had a big yawn and my eyes watered. Does that count? Story 184. My Venezuelan boyfriend feels like we don't understand each other because of the language barrier. Story 185. An anxiety attack caused me to spiral and question why I am this way. Story 186. Having feelings for someone who is avoidant and who let me down once again. Story 187. I got my first bike, and I started tearing up a bit because it is something I have wanted for a long time. My grandmother, who passed away last year, would have loved to see the bike and watch me ride it. Story 188. My kitten, whom I have raised since I broke his amniotic sac with my bare hands, went on a little trip to get his booster shots. The woman bringing him home was an hour late, and I spiraled into anxiety, imagining she had stolen him or that they had been in a car accident and fearing I would never see him again. He arrived soon after. I felt immediately delighted and embarrassed. Story 189. My boyfriend made fun of my car. I feel ugly. The supermarket had no bacon. I spilled some water from the dishwasher. All of this happened before 10 a.m. I am pregnant, so I have an excuse. Story 190. My father yelled at me, telling me to know my place as a woman. I thought he was going to hit me. Story 191. Watching a compilation video of old men farting angrily on Instagram had me rolling with laughter, tears streaming down my cheeks. Story 192. The last time I cried was because of my fractured relationship with my sisters. Story 193. Confirmation that the only person I believed loved me had been lying about their feelings for financial gain. Story 194. Watching the court hearing in the murder of Laken Riley. Story 195. My lilies are blooming. This is my first time caring for flowers, and I had such a terrible year that the only thing that made me happy was watching a flower grow from start to finish. Story 196. Arthritis pain. Don't get arthritis in your midfoot joints. When the weather changes, it feels like someone took a hammer to your feet. Story 197. I was watching a movie and a dog was being killed. I don't care if it was a human. Just don't hurt the dog. Story 198. I heard Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the radio, the version by the Hawaiian singer. Story 199. This poem, translated. In trying to have or get you, I have lost so much. Even if I get you now, I will not be happy. I will be sad instead. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.